Susi Air flies to some of the most remote and dangerous airstrips in the world, often providing a vital link to isolated communities. The airline's base in Timika on the island of Papua serves the remote tribal areas of the mountain highlands. There's only one pilot based in Timika, 25-year-old Captain Sam Quinn.
I get up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for 5. We do this, then we just beat the weather, basically. The weather gets bad around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Sam went to school in Oxford and originally had a very different career in mind.
I realized that school wasn't really for me, so I left at 16 and thought I wanted to be the next Gordon Ramsay and just work in the kitchen. So I worked in the kitchen for about 3 years. It was pretty difficult, working 18 hours for 2 weeks straight and just basically giving up my life.
Sick of the drudgery, he swapped the kitchen for the cockpit, and now his eyes are on the ultimate goal of a job on a commercial airline. But getting on the first rung of the ladder proved no less testing.
I didn't have a job for about 8 months, so I got my first job over here in Asia, and I was just happy to fly.
Some people I've known have got jobs for 3 years. Like getting your license and doing all the exams is pretty easy, but getting that first job is pretty hard. That's why most pilots come to Susi Air, who have minimum hours. I think the difference between us and commercial airline pilots is that we actually fly the machine more than they do. They rely on autopilot, and us as pilots out here, we're much more hands-on.
Sam is flying 80 miles to Sinak, a village deep in Papua's mountainous heartland. The flying here would test even the most experienced pilot, but ex-chef Sam's only been flying in Papua a few months.
It's just a high terrain around it, because as you can see, we're at 12,500 feet, and terrain is right there. If we're off track slightly, we're smacking life into that, basically.
It's quite scary at first, quite daunting, because you've got all these huge mountains just surrounding you, and you're just in this small little plane, and there's nothing below you, just trees.
En route, Sam is reminded of how badly things can go wrong.
There's actually a wrecked board on the side of the mountain, and obviously being a porter pilot myself, I don't really want to get into the same situation as he did. You see the fuselage, the left wing just smashed up to left, the right wing down there, and just the cockpit just demolished. This is the first time I've seen the crash. Not nice seeing another porter smash into the side of the hill.
The incredibly basic road network in the mountains means these supply flights are highly valued by the Dani people, one of around 300 tribal peoples in Papua. They are all deeply attached to their traditional lands and have been fighting for independence from Indonesia since the 1960s, when it took control of the area.
Look at them with a machine gun here.
So armed government guards keep watch at the airstrips. Tensions can run high, and Sam has learned to expect the unexpected.
You get rowdy crowds that want to get on the flight, and everyone's screaming and shouting, pushing each other. If they just do get violent, you need to throw everyone off the plane, throw all their cargo off, shut the doors and get out of there.
They got the local stash of rice and noodles, so yeah, it's about a 10-minute turnaround, so yeah, we're just going to shoot off back to Timika.
Maksudnya ini, barang ini.
Got your parents always just asking, oh, when you're going to come home, when you're going to move back to civilization.
But the move will have to wait. This is only the first flight in a long day for Sam. Kiwi George O'Brien is one of the most experienced pilots with Susi Air. He's one of the few people qualified to fly from the mountainous base of Wamena, where the flying is at its most dangerous. He has been a captain here for 4 years, but he still can't afford to be complacent.
The weather here is predictably unpredictable. Every strip's to be treated with respect.
Today, George is checking out 2 new airstrips. The mountainous heartland of Papua. The only way the tribes can get proper access to the outside world is if they build a strip themselves. George has the job of assessing whether these strips are safe to land at. But he has to fly blind to the first one.
Yeah, we just know the general area of the strip. We don't have any coordinates or strip information, so we're just navigating visually.
Pull up.
George will be the first person to land here. So he has to decide from the air if he feels confident he can land safely.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of a drainage issue. We're just going to land, use the bottom section and slow down, and then it'll be a high power taxi.
Only if George can complete a successful landing will the airstrip be declared open.
Stall.
The locals see these planes like mystical beasts. They call them metal birds.
Berapa tahun lama?
Ini
Ya,
lebih 14 tahun.
14 tahun.
Ya.
So,
Tua.
yeah, they've been making this strip for 14 years, so it's a pretty big deal to see a plane land on it.
Now that George has landed successfully, the airstrip will be added to the Susi Air routes.
They've got nothing, you know, and now they've, you know, potentially food, building supplies, a link to the outside world. Awesome experience.
It's a local tradition to present the pilots with a gift when a new airstrip opens.
They don't have much food. You know, this is a huge deal, you know, to get given something like this. I feel bad accepting these in some ways, but a bit of an insult not to, you know, to take them. So, yeah, just be grateful.
George also has the honor of being the first pilot to take off from this dangerously steep strip. Next, George needs to check out the second new strip. The Lugwat tribe who are building this one are said to have a dark past.
So this is the site where they were killed. I'm not sure exactly whereabouts it happened.
In 1968, 2 missionaries were traveling through the jungle when they were surrounded by local hunters.
The hunting party came across these guys and were curious as to what they were. I think they might have felt threatened, so they killed them and ate them. Everyone that I've spoken to that's been out here for any length of time thinks that cannibalism still exists in some of the more remote areas.
– 25-year-old Sam Quinn is preparing to fly the 60 miles from Tomika to Nabia, one of the most challenging landing strips in the whole of Papua. Nabia is set into a deep valley. The tall mountains can cause strong winds to build, and there is often turbulence and downdrafts on the final approach to the strip. Just 400 meters long, it's one of the shortest strips in the world. The Susi Air ground crew are in charge of ensuring the planes aren't dangerously overloaded.
For passengers and more some cargoes, and they nearly put wrong cargo inside. And if they put it, we will be crushed.
So just signed the manifest, it's got 758 kilos. You just need to watch out for the tailwinds on this one. The strip is a little bit, it's known for its gusty winds conditions and everything like that. So we just need to make sure we don't have a high tailwind going in, otherwise we're just gonna have to come back.
This strip is a big test for Sam, who only has a few months' experience of flying in Papua.
We're just approaching overhead the strip. I'm just going to slow down to 90 knots, just to have a good look at it.
Sam has to make a pass to check for any dangers on the runway. In 2011, Susi Air had a fatal crash because a man walked out in front of a plane as it was landing.
At the side of the strip, just looks like there's a little few puddles, but should be no worse. We're just going to shoot an approach. Really strong headwind here. Full power.
Buffeted by downdrafts, pushing the plane downwards towards the ground, Sam has to make critical decisions. Too little power and he'll hit the mountain too early. Too much and he won't be able to slow down in time. Sam has to fight to keep control of the plane. It was a close call, but Sam safely delivered the passengers and the villagers' supplies.
The heart pumping. You committed then? Yeah, I was committed. I can turn left or right.
Basically wind just pushing us down, and I just more or less nearly had full power on there just to try and maintain altitude. And it was just kept on pushing us down and down and down. That was a bit of a sketchy one. Okay.
Sam's proved himself capable of making the right call in the most testing circumstances.
I had my experience now. That was probably one of the sketchiest moments I've had, really. I've only been in Papua for 3 months now, and it's just finding out these things when you're out here. It's just a steep learning curve.
When the weather's really bad, really bad, and it's really kicking you around, and there's no other way you can get around it. You just have to plow right through it. You do get anxious. Once you think you know everything in aviation, that's when you're going to kill yourself, because you never stop learning.
Susi Air flies to some of the most remote and dangerous airstrips in the world. Only Susi Air's most seasoned pilots are allowed to fly in the dangerous skies of Papua. George O'Brien, one of Susi Air's most experienced pilots, is checking out whether a new airstrip is fit for use. The Lugwat people who built it are said to have cannibalized 2 missionaries in the late 1960s.
still got a wee way to go. We're going to call it after one of them.
Unable to land on the strip they'll name after the dead missionaries, George lands on the other side of the valley. Although a day's walk away, the people who live here are part of the same tribe that killed the two men. The evidence suggests cannibalism died out in the 1960s when these areas became more connected to the outside world. But stories still persist. Now he's here, George is keen to find out about the rumors of cannibalism.
Kamu ada orang Papua makan?
Waktu dulu bisa makan juga, tapi sekarang tidak.
Kamu makan orang Papua 30 tahun lama?
Bukan, lebih 60-an tahun sana. 60-an tahun.
64 tahun sekarang seperti begini tidak makan. Tapi nenek moyang kita dengan orang tua kita makan.
Anak-anak kecil, waktu kami waktu kecil masuk.
So they're saying that the young people here haven't eaten humans before, but the older people here have definitely.
One of the hunting party who is said to have killed and eaten the missionaries was here when the strip was opened.
And they asked them if white man tasted any different to their own, which they used to eat regularly, and the story goes that he thought they were delicious. So, yeah, we might not hang around here too long.
George is keen to find out more about what happened to the two missionaries. The son of one of the men still lives in a neighboring village. He was a child when his dad met a brutal end, but stayed on to continue his missionary work.
So you know that your father was cannibalised after he was killed?
Most definitely, both Phil and Dad were cannibalised. People from Lolat, the warriors from Lolat, they followed them through until they were well out of their own village area before they took up the attack against them.
Cannibalism was pretty rife in this whole area back in those days. Was that their belief?
The whole of the Barlim Valley was really Cannibal Valley, right the whole way. You know, you didn't want to be invited to a feast. You might be the centre of that feast.
Yeah, because I've heard from a few people that it still does possibly happen, in some of the remote sort of south coast locations, out in the flatlands. And
It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me that it still happens.
Been pretty sobering meeting Wesley. It's a bit of a reality check when you hear all these stories. It just goes to show what a different environment this is. Yeah, this place is a long way from the rest of the developed world.
Next time, the pilots are tested to the limit.
Oh shit, he just smacked the girl in the face.
As the new recruits take to the skies for the first time.
What could go wrong?
Go fast. No.
Oh shit.